Being able to successfully simplify radical expressions comes heavily into play when we are solving quadratic equations using what's known as the quadratic formula. When we use the quadratic formula, we oftentimes end up with expressions that look like this. Expressions that need to be simplified as much as possible. And when you study about the quadratic formula, you'll learn about what that plus over minus sign means. I won't get into that in this video. The purpose of these videos is to help you with the simplifying of the radical expressions. When it comes to simplifying an expression like this, we want to first of all simplify the radical expression as much as we can. And once we've done that, then we will simplify the overall expression. So going back to our process of simplifying the radical expression, we recognize that 8 has 4 as a factor. So we can take the square root of 8 and break it apart into the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. But the square root of 4 is equal to 2. So the simplified radical form of the square root of 8 is 2 times the square root of 2. But now I should notice that I have two terms here. Remember, terms are quantities that are joined by addition and subtraction in an expression. So I have the term of 4. I have the term of 2 times the square root of 2. Both of these have a factor of 2. I can divide this 2 into both of those terms. 2 divides into 4 2 times. 2 divides into the 2 one time. 1 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. And I have completely simplified that radical expression. This expression is equivalent to this expression. This is unsimplified. This is the expression in its simplified form. And the first thing to do was to simplify the radical expression, and then to see what further simplifying I could do of that new expression that I created. Sometimes students want to immediately do the dividing by 2 here, but you can't divide a quantity that is outside of the radical expression into a quantity that's inside a radical expression. 8 is tied up in the radical expression. 2 is outside of a radical expression, so it cannot be divided into the 8. It wasn't until I got here, after I'd simplified the radical expression, where I had a 2 outside of the radical expression that this 2 could divide into. When I distributed that division, in effect that's what I did. In effect, I distributed the division to each of these terms. 2 went into 4 2 times. 2 divided into this term. The 2 can divide into this 2 because it's outside the radical expression. It could not divide into that 2 because that 2 is tied up in the radical expression. So some things to watch out for, simple errors that sometimes students make when they're trying to simplify an expression of this nature.